Hello everyone, welcome to 6 African Trade Talks, the show that brings you closer to the intra-Africa trade business world. I'm your host, Chad Chawanda. I would like to ask you to please leave a review. It will help us engage more with you and also to improve our podcast. If you haven't subscribed yet, please remember to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you're listening to podcasts from. In this episode, our guest is Engineer Mansa Ahmed. Engineer Mansa is the head of Manufacturing Association of Nigeria. Engineer Mansa, welcome to 6 African Trade Talks. How are you?
I'm good, Chad. Thank you. And thank you for having me here again.
It's a pleasure to have you back on the show.
Thank you.
Before we start our show, we would like to hear a word from our sponsors.
Advocado Africa is a pan-African digital marketing social enterprise. With the exponential growth in smartphone users in Africa, you have to take your marketing digital. Advocado can do that for you. Advocado, minding your business.
Africa is talking business. Be a part of it. IATF is the key event boosting trade in Africa. No other event brings together more professionals under one roof. In 2021, IATF's theme will focus on the newly launched African Continental Free Trade Area, AFCFTA, a single market for goods and services across 54 countries aimed at boosting trade and investment. To learn more, visit www.intraafricantradefair.com.
Engineer Mansa, as the body representing manufacturers in Nigeria, what do you see as your strengths and opportunities?
Oh, thank you very much, Chad. Yes, indeed, the manufacturing sector in Nigeria could be said to be perhaps at least the fourth largest manufacturing sector in Africa. We are certainly the first in West Africa, in our region. And so over the years, I think we have built a reasonable level of capacity. I also believe we are probably the most diversified. The manufacturing sector now operates in at least 10 sectors, from food and beverages to automobile, to electrical, electronics, and the whole range. So we have a fairly diversified manufacturing sector. It is true for many reasons, particularly to do with the level of availability of infrastructure, particularly power. The sector has not done as well as it could. But I think this is the issue that the Manufacturing Association of Nigeria has been pursuing, working with government to promote policies that will indeed strengthen the sector, policies that have to do with the need to continue to diversify the economy as a whole, to improve on both the monetary and fiscal arrangements that will enable the sector to grow as quickly as it can. We certainly believe that the coming up of the African Continental Free Trade Area Agreement will be a great boost to the Nigerian manufacturing sector. And obviously, the Nigerian market, as we all know, is the largest market in Africa. And therefore, our manufacturers are already enjoying a large market, and they are perhaps better placed to see the opportunities for the larger continental market. So in many respects, I think the manufacturing sector in Nigeria has strengths and capabilities that we can bring to bear on AFCFTA.
Interesting. Thank you very much for sharing. What kind of opportunity exists for Nigerian manufacturers through the African Free Trade Agreement?
Thank you. Well, there are obviously several. First of all, as I said, yes, we have a large market already with about 200 million people, but the African continental market is 1.2, 1.3 billion. So clearly, this is a much larger market for us to play in. And as I said earlier on, because we already have a fairly mature, in the context of African industrialization, mature industry, we are better placed than many African countries to take advantage of this larger market. In many respects also, the Nigerian manufacturing sector has a wider, longer experience. I've just told you earlier on that the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is this year celebrating its 50th anniversary. So manufacturing has been in place in Nigeria for over 50 years. And we have had the experience of working not only in terms of domestic investors, but also working with foreign investors to build the manufacturing capacity. So these are opportunities that I think will perhaps expand within the larger African market that we are looking at. And obviously, one of the key constraints to many manufacturers in Africa generally has to do with the scale. Most of our manufacturing activities tend to be low scale. And to a large extent, that also helps to make us less competitive, helps to undermine our competitiveness Now, with the opportunities available under the AFCFTA, there is now clear opportunity to scale up our operations and therefore to become more competitive. We can scale up our operations both by internal investment, but also by linkages across African countries. Diversification is another potential area of opportunity. Manufacturers in Nigeria, perhaps that are now sourcing inputs from outside the country and even from outside Africa, can now look at the possibility of partnering with peer manufacturers within Africa or peer producers within Africa to diversify through backward integration or through partnerships of all kinds to try and build capacity, which will enable us not only to supply the continental market, but also to effectively compete with extra African producers. And I believe that this is really an opportunity that we look forward to exploiting with our partners across Africa. In many respects, there are great opportunities for linking various links in the value chain to ensure that we can maximize productivity through expansion of basic commodity production. For instance, cocoa producers in Cote d'Ivoire can scale up cocoa production and link up with Nigerian larger cocoa processing companies to actually have a larger market in that particular sector. And I believe that there are many other areas in Africa where we can exploit these kind of opportunities. If you look at the automotive industry, for instance, which is one industry that I think promises to provide tremendous opportunities for Nigeria and I think for other African countries, expansion through partnerships, through value chain linkages, through diversification will provide new opportunities for investing in the downstream sector of the auto market. Particularly, we have a very large rubber and plastic industry, and that obviously can key into the automotive industry to produce the myriads of plastic and rubber parts that go into the automotive sector. So both sides of the chain can then expand and grow. And as I said before, I think scale is the key issue that we must need to focus on, because beyond competing within the continental market, by expanding, growing our scale, growing quality issues, we can also compete effectively in the larger global market.
Certainly, capacitating ourselves will help us improve our extra-African trade, certainly. Thank you very much for sharing. With respect to automotive manufacturing in Nigeria, describe your members' manufacturing capability and products.
Thank you. Indeed, Nigerian automotive industry is now beginning to turn around. Over 30, 40 years ago, I think, we had virtually all the key European automotive companies assembling products in Nigeria. But obviously, because of the problems that Nigeria experienced, especially after the Civil War, most of those companies actually died out. But now they are coming back. And indeed, new ones are coming. But the experience has been there, and the market has been there. And I think with the coming into effect of the AFCFTA, that market can only get better. And I've talked earlier about the possibility of partnerships and collaboration across our various borders, which will enable us to grow even faster. Local manufacturers like Innocent, that indeed over the past 10 years have been growing gradually, now have an opportunity to grow even larger. And we have partnerships with non-African parties with tremendous experience and capacity to grow. For instance, Dangote Group has a partnership with Sino Trucks to build large trucks. This is already happening in Nigeria, and we see that as an opportunity to grow it across the African continent. So clearly, the auto industry is set to grow faster than it has done, certainly in Nigeria. And I see these opportunities shared with other African producers, especially, for instance, in South Africa and perhaps in Egypt and Morocco and so on. This also goes for our pharmaceutical industry. The Nigerian pharmaceutical industry is one of the largest in Africa. And indeed, with the situation we have been experiencing recently and the fact that the eyes of all Africans are now opened to the need to grow our own pharmaceutical industry, so that the kind of experience we have had from the COVID experience, particularly the issue of vaccine nationalism, has clearly shown us that Africa must do something about the pharmaceutical industry. We must begin to think of producing our own vaccines. And I believe that we have the basic input to make that. And beyond indeed vaccines, the pharmaceutical industry has tremendous opportunity for Africa, especially in terms of phytopharmaceutical products. We have tremendous resources in terms of forest resources that actually provides tremendous input into the pharmaceutical sector. So I think that really the AFCFTA offers tremendous opportunities for growth across various sectors in the African industrial sectors.
Certainly. And with Africa requiring a lot of trucks to move across borders, I think, a partnership with a company like Sinotruck is indeed a great initiative, and other African countries can also learn from those technologies, and then we'll be able to improve our logistics across the continent. What are you looking forward to at the IATF 2021?
I'm excited about the prospects of IATF 2021. First of all, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria is set to bring a fairly large number of Nigerian manufacturers across the various sectors to participate in IATF 2021. In the past, for most of exhibitions, particularly international exhibitions, most African countries, and certainly Nigeria, have sort of tended to focus on exhibiting, let me say, basic raw materials, shea nut butter, sesame seed, things like that, that are the basic commodities that perhaps Africa has been known to be the major producers of. And of course, perhaps cultural products, ethnic clothing and wear and so on and so forth. But to me, yes, these are important, and Africa should, of course, display and exhibit these capacities. But I think in manufacturing, the real thing is to produce the goods and services that people do need today and tomorrow, that people do need on a daily basis. And these are the basic products of the pharmaceutical industry, products of the automotive industry, products of the food and beverages industry across the board. And I think we have tended to ignore these capacities in our countries. Certainly, as I said before, Nigeria has tremendous opportunity to explore these areas to boost its capacity to produce and to provide the goods and services of it. And I believe that the AFCFTA offers us this opportunity to showcase what we can do, and even more importantly, to showcase where we can engage our brothers and sisters in other African countries for joint activities, joint venture, where we can diversify through backwards integration and expansion to be able to scale up our capacities in various sectors. In the textile industry, for instance, I have no doubt that, for instance, given the capacity in, say, Cameroon and Chad to produce cotton, or Sudan to produce high-quality cotton, bringing African industries together will create the opportunity to backward integrate and produce textiles at much, much higher capacity. And clearly, this is an opportunity that we can only access if indeed we bring the various countries together. So one of the things that I'm very excited to do is to bring the various manufacturing actors in Africa together to see what they can do together, to see where they can partner and where they can compete. Why not? And I think this is one of the reasons why at the last Intra-African Trade Fair, the idea of the Pan-African Manufacturing Association was put together. And I'd like to commend Ambassador Albert Muchanga, the Commissioner for Industry at the AU, for initiating this idea. I had the privilege of working with him to sort of spawn that idea, and I'm delighted that we have now been able to get it institutionalized. We already have registered the association, and it is my hope that in Durban, we will give it effect by bringing key actors in the sector, manufacturers across Africa, to come together and build this platform, which will provide the basis for engaging our public sector partners, governments across Africa in the individual member states, as well as the AU level, to actually work together to build a stronger, more extensive manufacturing capacity for our continent.
My business is growing. Thanks to Advocado Africa, digital marketing is the way to go. I get to know what my customers want and how they feel in real time. Besides, I choose how much to spend. I feel in control. If you want to take control of your marketing, contact Advocado Africa now. Visit www.advocadoafrica. Advocado Africa. We mind your business.
Africa is a continent full of potential, but potential means nothing if we don't take action to create value. Let us take action. Thank you for listening to this episode. Don't forget to post and share this episode on your social media platforms. It will help us reach our mission of sharing knowledge about intra-Africa trade and making it available to as many people as possible. Let us grow our continent. We can go far, fast, together. If you can please leave a review on our podcast page or on Apple Podcasts. See you next time.